Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Alabama Day Talking Horses, day 28 here in Saratoga. I'm happy to be joined by my good friend David Aragona, who, by the way, works the Daily Racing Form. We appreciate Frank's many accolades for you, David, but also should mention you work for the Forum as well as doing our morning line and ace handicapper. It's nice to have you up here.
Yeah, it's great to be back on the show with you, and always great to be up in Saratoga. And I'm really excited for this Alabama, which is going to settle currently a muddled 3-year-old filly division.
Except for Scottish Lassie, but we'll see where
we'll
she shows up. But I agree. We'll talk about her absence from it a little bit more. But I agree. A fun card today. A lot of 2-year-old races on today's card, and we'll see if we see any future stars on the card today. Head over to Naira Bets. Use the promo code SPA200, and we'll match the $200 of your initial deposit. Play through Naira Bets. Bet any track anywhere, anytime through Naira Bets. We have special 2-day double, the Alabama Stakes and the Prix Jacques Marois. It's not, I think it's the #1 mile in France and one of the biggest miles all year in Europe.
Yeah, it's a prestigious race. I was looking at the field, some top milers converging there, so interested to see how it plays out.
Is the rabbit that upset the Sussex running back in there?
I don't believe that horse is in the field.
I think they'd be smart if they found another spot for him. We'll see what else happens. What else do we have? $2 minimum wager on that. $50 to win the Alabama, and you get $20 to the Travers. Win, lose, or draw. We've got a 10,000 hit split in the late pick 5 here. Opt in. That's the late pick 5, the last pick 5. Opt in over at Naira Bets for that. Cross country pick 5. Monmouth, Woodbine, and the Alabama. Check those races out. Includes the King's Plate. This doesn't sound right, does it, the King's Plate? Forever the Queen's Plate to me.
Not used to it yet.
You know, yeah, it's just not going to work. What else do we have, Eddie? We have the Taste New York Pavilion. You know that, near Gate A. Check it out. A lot of good stuff made in the state of New York. Check that out between 12 and 5. Also, always an important day here on Alabama Day. It's Lustgarten Day, and Lustgarten is a foundation for pancreatic cancer research. And while it's a great cause, an important cause, it's also an opportunity for us to remember our lost friend, Dominic Galuccio, who was an extremely successful and popular trainer on the New York circuit for many, many years, till he passed away way too soon from pancreatic cancer. And every year the trainers get together and sign some autographs and raise a little bit of money for a very, very good cause. So head on over to the Jockey Silk Sports. This is the one thing that I will allow you to miss a little of Talking Horses, but you can also go afterwards because they'll be there until 12:30. Lustgarten Day. Give a few dollars to a good cause. Meet some good people like Pat Quick and trainers over there signing some autographs. Always a very, very important day and very much in memory of our late friend, Dominic Galuccio. We also have the show, 12:30 to 4 on FS2, 4 to 6 on Big Fox, and FS1 to close things out from 6 to 7. Also want to mention the Marois. You can bet that Alabama Marois double, and you can watch the Prix Jacques Marois from 9:30 to 10 on FS2 tomorrow morning to close out that double. Race number 1. Thought we'd take a look at Sweet Talkin' Bourbon for Cherie DeVaux's last race at Churchill Downs. I picked this horse on top. You know, I'm looking at this race. David, I don't know about you. I thought this race had the kind of look of a key race. Like 4 or 5 horses came out of this race and ran significantly better. And I just thought this might be a race that's a lot better than it looks, and so I took Sweet Talkin' Bourbon.
Yeah, I mean, my one knock, I guess, watching this race is that it kind of felt like he was supposed to get the job done because he made this big move to sort of stick his head in front in mid-stretch and kind of got turned away at the very end. But as you said, the winner came back to run an 88 buyer next time, the third-place finisher back to run an 84 buyer. So feels like it might have been a slightly better race than it seemed. We'll just see how much pace develops because this horse doesn't have the most early speed.
I don't disagree. And the other thing is he's got 3 seconds and 7 starts, so he does have a little bit of hang in him. You've taken the number 3 on top, who I have second, Norwich.
Just kind of feels like the connections might have gotten this horse wrong early in his career when they focused on nothing but turf sprinting as a son of Munnings. But ever since they switched over to the dirt, he's been an improved horse. And it seems like going longer on the dirt is really what's brought out his best form. And his last race, he didn't get the job done finishing 3rd, but I didn't think it was the most comfortable trip. He was kind of stuck inside trying to come through. I watched the head on. It was opening up and then closing again and opening up and closing again. And horses sometimes get intimidated when they're trying to come through along the inside in those situations. His race 2 back also, another race where horses have come back to improve their buyers out of that race. So I think his form stacks up pretty well against this field. And Mike Maker does well off the claim at Saratoga.
He does. His numbers in general at Naira off the claim with dirt routers. I had him at 9 for 38 with a 2:08 2-something, 208, 268 ROI, 24 of them hit the board, and 5 for 15 with a 344 ROI with his claims on dirt routes. So I don't disagree. I thought this horse was very, very dangerous. Who else is taking money in this race? The number 4, House. Who'd you make the favorite here?
I have this morning line very closely grouped. Everyone 3-1 to 9-2. I did make House United a slight morning line favorite.
Irad.
The bettors are going for him right now. It is Irad. I don't know how you felt, Andy. I thought that the starter allowance at the same level he's coming out of was a slightly weaker race than this one.
I completely agree, and that's why I have the horse much lower, as do you. Race number 1. Race number 2. These are New York bred maidens, and the horses that have run in here, I wasn't thrilled, as were you, with Victory Hall, who's run. I was a little more unforgiving with Belloro, who took so much money in there, but I'm not sure this isn't a race where you want to just bet firsters.
Yeah, the race that both Victory Hall and Belloro is coming out of, won by Jenna Antonucci, first-time starter Shakti, who had some nice workouts coming in there,
yeah.
but there were some gaps behind the horses, and just feel like maybe these two would need to improve if there is a well-meant firster in here. And there are some interesting things going on with just about every first-time starter in this race.
Talk about your top pick, One Holy Roller.
Yeah, this horse just has a lot of precocity, and the pedigree. Bustin' Stones is one of the most underrated debut sires from the game for a sire that only stands for $2,500. He wins with 21% of his 2-year-old debut runners.
Amazing.
And you go to the Dam side. The Dam was a precocious sword who was a very fast sprinter. This horse is a half to November Rain, who was a stakes quality dirt sprinter for these same connections. Kelly Breen doesn't often win on debut up here, but he can win on debut in general, and just figured this one would be pretty quick.
I agree. I think he's very dangerous. You have no love for my horse, Probable Angle, who's been working at Penn National. It's just Demetrius Syntifius does very well here. I mean, he's 4 for 11, 2-year-old first-time stars in dirt sprints with an ROI of close to $4. I know it isn't much pedigree, but I just feel like this guy comes here with live horses.
I probably got a little caught up in the pedigree because the Improbables have not had a whole lot of success on debut, and you got the Union Rags on the bottom side. There's just nothing there that's screaming win first out, but you're right. The connections can be dangerous up here.
It just seems like they're very, very live, and I think the Maker horse, the outsider you've left out, you didn't think that horse would be live in here, or you think he just wants more distance?
He very much could be. I'm not sure what to make of training exclusively on the synthetic surface at Turfway Park. You don't often see that with the Maker runners coming into debut
Especially
at
for a New
Saratoga.
York bred that he's probably going to bring here.
It's a little strange, but you go to the Dam side. The Dam is a half-sister to Big City Lights, who was a Grade 3 winning dirt sprinter out in Southern California, so there's sprint pedigree there. I even think there's some pedigree on the number 5, Max Power, who could be the biggest price of all the first-time starters. This barn can win on debut, usually in lesser races, but Maxfield 5 for 17 with his debut runner so far in his stallion career, and the Dam is a half-sister to Clearly Now, who was a very good dirt sprinter on this circuit.
I managed to get Clearly Now wrong just about every single time he ran. And Avery's Wonderland, a very, very good second Dam. It's that Seeking the Silver, who's the Dam of Paula's Silver Lining and Dad's Caps, and so many horses for Vinny Scuderi. This Dam only produced one runner to do very well, but there's big pedigree in the second family.
Yeah, and the Omaha Beaches have had a lot of success on debut, so there's certainly pedigree with that horse. Dutro doesn't always have them cranked up to win on debut, but he can win with a firster.
He is having a slow meet, but that doesn't mean he can't win with a firster. Race number 3. It did scratch down quite a bit in here, and I really like a horse in this race, and I'm very disappointed in the scratches. I like a horse that you don't particularly like, and that's Uncle Charlie's Gift. We'll take a look at his win at Gulfstream 2 back. I'm going to tell you something. I think there's a lot of horses coming in this race, except for the 2, that have some questionable form. Can Magnolia Midnight wire the field and wake up? Absolutely. But his last race was awful. He couldn't even come close to making the lead in that race. I thought the Stolen Base field was kind of weak, and this horse is running big numbers for Nick Zito, and then caught a killer field, was wide against a gold rail, and now he's in a realistic spot for Nick Zito. I thought this horse was the horse to beat, personally. You obviously don't agree with me.
I mean, my problem with Uncle Charlie's Gift is that you're relying on some Gulfstream form, and while the conditions of those races make it seem like he's coming out of comparable spots from a class standpoint to treaty obligation, when I go through those fields, I feel like the races are weaker for Uncle Charlie's Gift. And the last race, obviously, he was in way over his head, so he's dropping into a more realistic spot here. I just thought in such a small field, he wasn't going to be as big a price as I'd want taking Nick Zito in a race like this. I respect him, but I went in a more logical direction, probably where the public's going to go to the number 2, treaty obligation. Something I've noticed so far at this meet is that when Linda has ridden IRAD, she has had a ton of success. So far, she's ridden IRAD 8 times at this meet, 5 wins, 2 seconds. They just seem to be very live together. And you might look at the dropping class and be somewhat worried about it, but Linda claimed this horse for
$50, I agree.
$50,000.
And made money.
She's made over twice that already with the 2 allowance victories following that, and he didn't quite pan out in his last couple of starts, and she's just taking a realistic dropping class. He's not going to win an N2X or N3X allowance up here, so I think that he's just placed realistically for a barn that typically is dangerous when they're dropping horses like this.
I agree with you on all of that. My problem is, number one, not going to be much of a price. No. And I also think, and while I totally agree about the drop down, it's not really a negative. There's an argument this horse started to tail off and then got laid up. And I guess the question is, how confident are you he can get back to the better races? Because I think he has to run a little better than he ran the last couple races to win this race.
His last race was bad. I'll say his race 2 back, he stumbled badly at the start, was always out of position. I can make an excuse for the one 2 back. The last one, a mild concern.
Listen, I have nothing against him. And as far as Magnolia Midnight, he is going to be the clear speed in this race. I just am concerned. I mean, his races 2 and 3 back would win this race, but his race last time was bad.
I think you just have to acknowledge that he is a completely different horse when he gets alone on the lead than he is when he fails to make the lead. He's very faint-hearted. He completely falls apart when there's contention for the early pace. But when he gets to set his own pace up front, which I think he's likely to do, breaking from the inside on a small field out of the Wilson chute, he's very dangerous.
I don't disagree. His last race just left me with a bad taste in my mouth, but I did pick him second here. Race number 4, we'll take a look at Tennessee Belle, who's got the experience and is probably the worst to beat off of that. I thought she ran behind Tommy Joe, who, if not the best 2-year-old filly we've seen at the meet, she's in that discussion. Actually, I thought that Wits horse that ran last week that beat a Todd horse.
Carmel Coast.
Yeah, that horse ran extremely well. Also, I wonder if that race a little late to make the spin away. And Todd's horse, I know, pointing to it. I thought this horse ran very well to be second.
I thought she ran great this day, and Joelle was trying to give her a bit of an education because she actually broke on top. He took her in hand to rate her behind horses early, and there was a moment coming around the far turn where Tommy Joe really started to rev up on the outside and just got the jump on Tennessee Belle because Joelle kept her inside until the quarter pole. She lost a little bit of momentum. I think the margin of victory would have been narrower if he had gotten her out a little bit sooner. Not that she was an unlucky loser or anything like that. I just thought it was a really solid debut performance in a tough race, and if she progresses at all or just runs back to that effort, she's going to be really tough to beat.
She's so much the horse to beat in this race, but we'll talk about some others in here. What about Sunkiss on the rail? A horse I have 4th and you have 3rd is a half to Damon's Mound. Actually, a full to Damon's Mound, excuse me.
Yeah, I mean, the pedigree's obviously there for her to be a good dirt sprinter, for her to be precocious. Gervin is a 20% 2-year-old debut sire. Kind of got mixed signals when I was watching the workouts. I was able to watch a lot of workouts for this race on First TV. She kind of carries her tail high. She's a bit of an awkward mover, but she kind of goes back and forth in her workouts. Sometimes she looks like she's ready to win first out. Sometimes she looks a little bit green. So I'm just not sure that it's all there. And I'm kind of interested that Kendrick Carmouche is named to ride this horse, who Bill Mott rarely engages.
And not Junior.
Yeah.
Kendrick's also riding extraordinarily well at the meet, and maybe, something came up, and maybe he just noticed that, or maybe the owners wanted them to run. I agree. Nona Teresa's a horse I believe has been working fairly well, and you see a horse that Vinny Viola names for his wife, and when you name a horse for your wife, there's a good chance you probably like it. And even the Dam, who was pretty good, was named for his wife also.
And this was that very good Phipps family. The My Flag, I think, is the second Dam, personal ensign. So, I mean, this one is certainly bred to go longer. Watching her workouts, she really didn't look like anything special until the last workout, that 47-4 gate drill. It's like the light bulb went on, and she looked really good that day. She was out working a horse that's a European turf pedigree, so I don't want to make too much of that, but it does seem like she's doing well coming into the race.
I have Cognition on top, a horse that I believe is supposed to be a runner. I don't have a big story on this horse or anything. I just kind of wanted, I'm always leery of these horses that run really well first time out, coming back and running back to the numbers at short prices in those races. Though, to be fair, John Ortiz's horse that lost yesterday, I didn't see the figures, but I imagine in losing to that Maker firster, she probably improved her fig from her debut.
I would think so.
So if this horse improves, she'll probably win. But I put Cognition on top, a horse you have second.
Yeah, this is a horse that certainly can win first time out, being a daughter of Practical Joke. And the workouts, when I watch them, I can view several of them. She looks like she's got some talent. I like the way she's training into this race. I just feel like these Chad Brown firsters and dirt sprints at Saratoga, they tend to get a little overbet. The ROI is not really there when you look up his stats.
Fair.
So I want a horse to really wow me for that barn if I'm going to pick it first time out, especially over a horse with proven form like Tennessee Belle. But of the firsters, she is the one that I would want.
All right, we'll see what happens in race number 4. We'll break after race 6. We have fans, David. I think they're your fans, actually, outside. Can't be possibly be here for me. Race number 5, going a mile and 3/8 on the turf, and I know it's an annoying race for David, and we'll just annoy him even more and show is Il Siciliano, who you bet last time out at 18-1, and really ran a winning race in here. You know, I was sort of had mixed feelings. There was this runoff leader, and Jaramillo made this huge middle move and went by Navy SEAL, and then Navy SEAL comes back on and beats him. I'm not sure. I didn't, at first I thought it was a bad ride, and then I watched it again, and I wasn't so sure that maybe he just didn't take the right gamble to try to seize control. But in fairness, he was best that day.
Yeah, I mean, your inclination when you see a race like this is to say, what was he doing? He moved way too soon. But even when I liked this horse last time, I was writing in my analysis, I hope he moves early, because watching a lot of this horse's races, especially down at Gulfstream, they wait so long, he doesn't have that turf turn of foot.
So
He's
he
more
read
of
your
a
thing,
grinder.
and then
Well, maybe they got a little carried away with it. I don't think he should have moved at the 3/4 pole. But no, I was looking up even the fractions in GMAX, the interior fractions for each horse. This horse ran the backstretch in 23.06. So it wasn't just an optical illusion. He really made a middle move within the race. Then again, as you were alluding to, I mean, this is a horse that you need to get going early to have his best chance. And Luis Saez has ridden him before, and he's held him up and then tried to produce him too late and has run out of ground. So I wonder if maybe they're going to overreact to what they perceive to be the mistake last time and hold him up for longer. And I don't know if that's the right way to ride him.
There's a reason he's 1 for 15 with 3 seconds and 2/3. He's clearly a tricky horse to ride, and he ran great last time. If you can find a way to bottle that up, and if he runs that race again, I think he's going to win here. But for you, especially, not for me, I didn't bet him last time. You did. You can't come back on him at, a fifth of the price that you got last time. I mean, unfortunately, that's the way it goes. But the truth is, staying away from these horses that we bet at big prices, that are unlucky losers, when they come back at short prices, look at the Hennig horse in the last race yesterday.
Yeah.
A horse I had played at a big price. He was unlucky. He should have won. He was yesterday's last race was a race of no-shows, except for the winner. I mean, the 8 didn't show up, the 9 didn't show up. That firster for Mott that got bet, and that horse
Never
trailed by 100 lengths the whole way around the track. It was a very strange race. I agree. You're going to try to beat this horse with investment mandate. I saw you pick this horse, and I've been dying to know why you like him. And I hope you're right, but I can't see it.
I think sometimes with these Monmouth races, you almost see the same phenomenon that you do at Tampa over the winter, where the speed figures are low, but these horses can run well within the context of the race and then subsequently improve. His debut race, I thought, kind of pointed himself out as a horse that had some hidden talent, because he was held up for a long way, was in traffic coming around the turn, and once he finally got some running in this room in the stretch, he was just finishing like a freight train across the wire, ran out of ground. Last time, Flavien Prat gave him a much better ride, saved all the ground, and was able to weave his way through traffic with plenty of time and get out. But I just love the way this horse kind of quickens the turnover of his stride and lengthens himself to finish off his races. It just feels, watching his races, like there's more there than we've yet seen. And you look at the pedigree, I love the Constitutions going longer. The half sibling was a winner going a mile and 3/8 on the turf. There's a lot of route pedigree, and I just think this one has untapped potential. We'll see if he can improve enough to beat a field like this.
I mean, he is a stranger. You're going to get Chad Brown at a decent price. I'm laughing about the horse because when they bought this horse, Seth Klarman said to me, I bought a $525,000 Constitution. You want to buy into him? And I said, I'm $524,999 short. But so I always laugh when I see this horse, and I actually bet him first time because of that, a few dollars, just sort of hoping he'd do well. Listen, he's going to be a price, and he's an interesting horse. And the other thing is, I think these horses are pretty good. They're not such killers that he has to improve that dramatically.
No, I think you have to keep in mind that his two main rivals, the two horses that make this a tough race, they're in for the $50,000 tag, and they're multiple winners. But I think you have to kind of be realistic on what you're going to get from those horses if they're really going to produce their best efforts. And Zverev, I think, is the one that maybe has a little more upside, making his first start off the claim for Mike Maker, because we've seen Maker have a lot of success with this move.
We have, and I was looking through Maker's claims going long, and 10 furlongs and more, and I was looking at the ones that had never gone long before, and it seems like for the most part, win or lose, they improved for him going longer. So it seems like he has this ability to claim. Now, I didn't think he'd be favored. I thought Il Siciliano would be favored. I'm sure you're right that he will be favored. And
well, Fuerteventura is the horse I made the favorite off that last that last
We'll take a look at his last race, actually, finishing second. I don't particularly want this horse. He's not impossible, but I think he's a little dressed up after just facing kind of a better horse, and somebody had to be second in this race.
Yeah, I think people might believe that he really improved off the claim for Rob Atras. I felt like he was just fine finding the right field last time because Corruption ran his race, and it felt like nobody else ran a step behind those two for there to be the gaps that there were behind the top two finishers. And he did have some trips prior to that when he was in the Mike Maker barn. I still feel like the upside with this horse is very limited.
I agree. I just think the horses outside of him are more interesting. We'll see how you do with Investment Mandate. I have taken Zverev. See what happens in race 5, race number 6, and we'll break after 6. They're going 5.5 furlongs in the turf, and I want to start. Keto Drink finally gets in the 3, a horse who's been Meyer and the also eligibles like 2 or 3 times since his debut. And I thought he ran fairly well in that race. You know, I had some mixed feelings about it. Obviously, Cy-Fair, we can go to that replay, guys, is the horse to beat, I assume, in tomorrow's Bolton Landing. I thought he was very impressive. And I think the question you have to ask is, did he run really well, or was he just kind of picking up pieces at the end in a race that was falling apart behind the decisive winner?
There definitely was pace for this horse to close into, and I think that helped intensify her late kick. The other thing I would say about her, though, is that I think she's the type that can show more speed this time because she got off a little bit slowly, and when you watch the backstretch, she wanted to do a lot more than Junior was letting her do. When she broke slowly, Junior kept a really hard hold on her all the way around the turn and then unleashed her. And I think if she breaks cleanly, she's going to be able to show more of that speed that she wanted to show first time out. So I could see upside for this horse.
Yeah, but on the other hand, I wanted to take the 7 out of the race, so it will be a much better price because that race was falling apart at the end. And I don't think the 7 ran significantly worse than the 3, and I think will be a significantly higher price. So I'm going to take the horse that was more forward in that race, and Sadie Earp, who I actually thought ran okay. Wesley Ward doesn't never wins with first-time starting 2-year-olds in turf sprints up here. He didn't leave Schwarzenegger in. Apparently the rail was going to be a problem for him. I have no idea what that means. But I'm going to take that one. I always kind of like the one that shows more forward speed in those races, coming back at a better price.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see actually which of these Wesley Ward runners takes more money because he's also got the first-time starter Santina in here. Very strange situation. He has entered this horse as an MTO twice, and now she's in on the turf. I have no idea why she was entered as an MTO because she seems to have a turf profile. She has a great work on the turf, 46-3 from a couple of weeks ago. So she seems primed to debut on the turf. Just kind of strange entering pattern for Wesley, but wouldn't be the first time we've seen it from that barn.
I think with the retirement of Michael Dickinson from training, I don't believe he's training anymore, maybe we can call Wesley the new mad genius because he does a lot of crazy things, but man, does he win races. So who am I to knock him? The horse that I have third here is the one you have on top, BB Doll, who comes back from Ascot.
Yeah, I mean, I will scratch into this horse. I liked the Mott Runner Headspin who comes out of this race. BB Doll, I think, is intriguing because she's running stakes races in both starts. Her debut race, she actually ran into a really good one in Lenny Lou, who came back and finished third in the Queen Mary over at Royal Ascot, and that seemed like a legitimate race that she was exiting. So I think she faced a good horse on debut. And I know she only split the field last time in the Albany, but when you watch that race, she was actually right in the mix until like the final furlong when she faded. And that's a really demanding 6 furlongs at Royal Ascot for the 2-year-olds to tackle, especially those that are based here. So I didn't think she ran that badly in that race. And Jorge Delgado is a trainer that when he ships to Saratoga, they've generally run well.
I actually thought there's an argument that she comes out of a better race than Sandal's Song was coming out of in the Norfolk. I thought that last race was actually
the winner
good.
of the Albany came back and I believe won a Group 2 in her next start.
Yeah.
So that feels like a legitimate performance.
I completely agree with you. I thought that last race was pretty good. We'll see how she does coming up here for this race. We will take a break and we'll be back with the Pick 6, late Pick 5, the stakes, all sorts of good stuff.
You bet with Naira Bets. Bet any track, anywhere, anytime. Download the Naira Bets app to play today and get a $200 deposit bonus. Watch live horse racing. Get expert picks. Boost your bankroll with weekly promotions and hone your handicapping skills with exclusive tips and tutorials. Download the Naira Bets app now. Sign up now to claim your $200 deposit match bonus. You bet with Naira Bets.
Welcome back to Talking Horses. David Aragona, Andy Serling. What are we doing here? Race number 7.
More 2-year-olds.
Hero declared. We'll take a look at the 2-year-old sales work. And this was the horse that Whit Beckman told Maggie, and when she was talking about the horse that ran super impressive last week, he really liked this one. This was a better one. Now, I don't know if this one's going to exceed the 86 buyer that horse got. It was a filly. But stories are this horse is good, and I thought this 10-flat workout was very impressive.
This workout is great. I mean, it doesn't look like he's going as fast as he is, which is always what you want to see in these 2-year-old sales works, because sometimes their legs are flailing. It looks like they're just pulling at every stop to go that fast, and this horse just looked like he did it well within himself. And this horse I've known about for a while. When Whit Beckman entered that first-time starter all the way back in the Sanford, I watched some of the workouts early in the season at Keeneland, and I saw that horse working with this one. I remember making a note of this horse's name, like, wow, this horse looks like he is way faster than they're letting him run in the morning. And since then, he's reportedly working well. He actually worked with that horse that Whit Beckman brought off the 1.5-year layoff, Stowaway, that 6-year-old who had run an 88 buyer, actually ran okay to be second. So, I mean, the fact that a horse that's a 2-year-old is working heads up with an older horse like that is always a good sign. And this one is supposed to be the goods. And Whit Beckman can win with a firster.
Well, yeah, that filly last week. I'm hoping this horse does well for Jason Worth's Icon Racing stable. And having said all that, you still picked against. You just can't help yourself.
Well, these horses that have the hype machine behind them, they take a lot of money at Saratoga. And sometimes some others who are working well can slip through the cracks a little bit, even those going out for barns that do well in this situation. Tom Amoss is so underrated with his debut 2-year-old performances at Saratoga in recent years. I was looking up the stats in Deere Formulator. He's had 13 2-year-old debuters at the Spa on dirt, 4 winners, 3 seconds, 7 for 13 in the exacta. Given how tough these 2-year-old maiden special weights come up, that is really tough to do. And this horse, It's Our Time, love the Not This Time's debuting. This horse has a really good dirt sprint pedigree on the bottom side, and I've only seen the videos of a couple of workouts, but this horse seems to travel well within himself. He outworked a 3-year-old allowance quality horse for Tom Amoss in the morning, so feel like this one could be a better price than Hero Declared and does seem to be working almost as well.
I think the horse that's really interesting in this race, and if there weren't stories on other horses, I might have taken on top, is the 7 Forever Man. And I'm guessing you saw just what I did. I mean, this horse was extremely green after braking slowly, sort of just, I mean, was very awkward, went to the rail, sort of dropped back a bunch of lengths after the start. And I looked at this horse and thought, man, this horse looks like a horse that needed that first race as much as any horse I've seen the entire summer. And it just felt like one of those horses, you're watching the race and you're thinking, I know this horse can run.
Yep.
I know this horse is good, just has no idea what he's doing out there. He may have found himself in a particularly tough race, but I cannot ignore this horse, and I actually considered putting him on top.
Yeah, you see that short comment in the form, steadied start, no rally, and you watch the replay thinking you're not going to find much, and then you see, I mean, it wasn't steady. He was steady at the start, but he walked out of the gate. He was so far back, and even when he was coming into the stretch, he was building momentum and then got cut off, and it seemed like they kind of gave up after that. I agree. This horse might have some talent. I don't know how strong the race he's coming out of was. Soldier and Diplomat didn't run as well as maybe the workout suggested he would. And also, this barn has been a little bit disappointing so far at the meet.
I agree. I agree, and mostly with turf horses. But this is a very hard horse to ignore. I would say watching his replay, you should watch his replay. It's almost like an educational replay for watching first-time starters that are better than they are. No love for Cost Effective. I have second. The Lewis Bay, of course, who Chad trained, who was pretty good. And this is her 3rd foal.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see which of these Chad Brown runners takes more money. It seemed like Dillon was riding the live one in the other race, and obviously Flavien Prat not available to ride today, so maybe Dillon's getting some more live mounts than he otherwise would. Manny Franco lands on Cost Effective for Klarovich. This horse has been working down to Belmont, so I can't really read too much into it, though I know this horse has been working with a horse that you have some personal connection to. Maybe we won't let the cat out of the bag on that one
No,
just
the cat's
yet.
out of the bag on that. This horse's workmate is named Serling. He'll be debuting soon. Get tied on. What about the 2, Renegade, who has a big pedigree?
Yeah, they paid a lot of money for this horse. It's $25,000 short of $1 million for this horse at Keeneland September last year. There is pedigree to go much longer on the bottom side. The Damn Spice is nice. I think she actually ran in the Alabama. I might have picked her in that race, and she finished nowhere. Yeah, she definitely, I forget if it was that or like the Cumley. It was one of those races going 9 furlongs. But she wanted to run as long as they write races. This one isn't into mischief. The workouts seem pretty slow for Todd Pletcher, but the ones that I've watched, this horse has looked best in company. Just not sure what he's been paired with in the morning.
Just seems like Todd's horses have been so incredibly live here. The second dam is Dame Dorothy, who's an answer to a trivia question and a trivia question. She is one of the many horses that broke their maiden on Cigar Mile Day that won a Grade 1. I believe she's the only 3-year-old that broke her maiden on Cigar Mile that won a Grade 1.
Oh, I forgot she broke her maiden as a 3-year-old.
Yeah, first-time starter, actually. Tiger Rocket, could this horse be a little bit dangerous for Bill Mott? I didn't love the sales work for this horse, but I always take a look at these horses for Frank Fletcher Racing.
I thought that he was slightly outworked by the Philly Sunkiss, who's debuting earlier, so make of that what you will. They kind of went back and forth in their workouts, so I didn't think this one was the most live in a race where it felt like some others were working really well coming in.
All right. Race number 8 at a mile, I thought was one of the more interesting races of the day. We're going in slightly different directions here because David has to pick Rock the Weekend every time he runs. And a couple friends of mine texted me and said, if you don't make fun of David for picking Rock the Weekend today, I'm going to be very angry with you. And the problem with Rock the Weekend is, are you hoping for rain? Because he does seem to do his best running.
He does, like
rain.
a sloppy track, that is true.
Go ahead. No, I'm going to let you talk about it. This is a horse that, he is a cool horse, I agree.
So this horse has run some races that do put him in the mix here. I mean, when he gets pace to close into, he can come with a pretty potent late run, as he did 3 back when he earned that 86 Buyer. I know it was in the slop, but he has run some races on fast tracks that aren't that much worse because he's faced some good fields at this level before. I can easily make excuses for the last 2 races. He does not want 9 furlongs against that level of competition in the commentator. And then last time out, that was a race that was dominated by inside runners, and Katie just had him so wide every step of the way. He lost a ton of ground, but was coming on at the end. And you can never trust fast paces to develop out of the Wilson chute because it just feels like the horses have to sort themselves out so quickly. No, but especially the Wilson chute because they make that quick bend. Horses that send from the outside, the riders sometimes have to snatch to not lose so much ground. And so I'm worried that the pace that seems like it will develop on paper won't play out on the racetrack, but it does feel like there are quite a few horses that want to get forward position in here.
I agree. The pace is supposed to at least be fair here. I took Chichibella in this race, the number 4. You pick second, and obviously he's the more logical one. We'll take a look at him winning that Stallion Series. I actually forgot that I bet him.
I think that was a good pick by you, yeah.
I just think he's good. I mean, and the other thing is, I don't think he has to be that slow. I don't think he's that pace dependent. So I thought he was a little interesting.
No, and I don't think it's some huge negative that he's in for the $45,000 tag because, I mean, he was a bit of a surprise when he won this stakes race, and he was a horse that was competing at this level going back to the middle of last year, and he got pretty good at the end of last season. They probably feel that he's not getting back to that form right now.
He's a 6-year-old. What are they supposed to do with him?
They're running him in a realistic spot, and he had no chance in that stakes race last time.
I completely agree. I'm a fan, and I've taken him. Obviously, the strange horse in here is Aggregation. And he's coming off a 15-month layoff. Look at his race 2 back when he lost his Synthesis, and at times he's run figures that would trounce this field. And, originally you want to say, well, I'm not in love with these Chad Brown long layoff horses, but 250-plus layoffs in the dirt. Chad's 26% with 109 stars and a 206 ROI. Over a year, he's 8 for 23 with a 276 ROI. The guy won with a horse off a 2.5-year layoff already at the meet. So I'm not sure we're supposed to think these layoffs are bad things the way they're coming back and running.
No, and I found a very specific stat drilling down even deeper. Year-plus layoffs on the dirt at Saratoga, 4 for 4. With a $10 plus ROI, and he had that filly come off a long layoff the other day that just trounced New York Bred Allowance competition. So I don't think you have to worry too much about the layoffs, but this is a horse that I've always thought was a little dressed up.
I agree.
That he's been very fortunate when he's run his big numbers, so I don't totally trust him. And he is drawn in post 7 with some speed inside of him out of the Wilson chute.
I don't disagree with any of that. I'm curious to see what the horse in the rail does. I have second, you have fourth, Palace Boston here. I just thought he was... I think he's a horse that's improving. He's running against better horses in a lot of cases, but I feel like his last race was actually one of his better races. I thought, as opposed to the other race where it just sort of fell in his lap, I thought he ran okay last time out, and I like that he's cutting back to a mile.
I actually think the 9 furlongs brought out the best in this horse because he seems like the type to me that wants to run all day. But he could sit a very good trip if some horses vie for the front end and he's able to stay in that pocket, riding the inside, which seems like the trip that you want coming out of the Wilson chute. I could see him running well in here.
And I believe Louis Rivera's still riding him, and let's give a little love to him.
Yeah.
Guy went down in mid-stretch yesterday. He had to go to the hospital and get checked out. and he's working Torpedo Anna this morning.
Crazy.
So I'm rooting for Louis to do well today, and glad to see he's feeling better, and looking forward to seeing him ride. A good guy and a good rider as well. Race number 9. I don't want to waste the fact that I've gotten 47 texts already to let me know. So letting you know, Irad Ortiz is riding Spirit of New York. And how does his brother feel about this?
Well, Irad did ride him on debut. I guess Irad chose the horse that was going to be favored for Weaver. And
Now, if he wins, are we going to have like a recount or something on the jockey thing? If he wins this with this horse and then wins the rider title by 1 win, I think Jose has a right to put up the inquiry sign.
you know what just popped into my head? Maybe maybe Jose owed him one because it was the exact opposite with Ewing, where Irad was named on Ewing in the Saratoga Special, and then he gave Jose back the mount. So maybe they're just, evening the score with this horse.
That's actually possible. I like that. That's actually probably right. Can we show that replay first since we're talking about him, Eddie? Is that okay? Thank you so much. I have no knock on this horse. I think he's the horse to beat with the horses that are left in this race.
With the key scratch of Sandal Song, who I think we had a disagreement about, but was going to be the horse to beat in here.
I think it was the horse to beat in here. I thought he was going to be overbet. That's all.
That's fair enough.
My point. Not that he wasn't the horse to beat.
Spirit of New York probably inherits favoritism now, but I think deservedly so. I mean, this seemed like a very strong race. When a 2-year-old wins one of these 5.5 furlong turf sprints going away by 3 lengths, that is a dominant performance. He got a nice speed figure. Adam Rice, obviously came up here to unveil a horse that might be for sale, and there's been a private purchase since then, going to Michael Dubb and the Elkstone Group. But sticking this one's sticking with Adam Rice, at least for now. And we know Adam Rice can be very dangerous with any horse that he sends to Saratoga.
I agree. And the other thing, he doesn't need to lead to win. And so it's not like he's going to be compromised because there is some speed in this race, though less speed than there was before. Tommy Bellhouse tells me you are absolutely right about the Ewing comparison. So
okay,
your first winner in the card. So you've already got one home. You don't get any money for it. Doesn't up your ROI. I have no problem. And I could have put him on top. To be honest, I just took Monster, and I have no way to judge this. Nobody's had speed figures. Tom Amos was going through and looking at the Ragozin numbers, which, it's hard with 2-year-old debuters. And basically most of these horses run the same number in their races. And I just thought Monster's race was so different than his dirt races that maybe he's a really good turf horse. He might get a little lost. Obviously, the prices are completely different now with the scratches. But I'm not a huge fan of Tough Critic. We'll take a look at this horse winning at Keeneland because even though his win at Keeneland was kind of visually impressive, every time you see a horse closing like this, he got an unbelievably good ride from Flavien Prat. I wonder how good this race was.
I wasn't sure what to make of it because the pace was fast.
Right.
On the other hand,
Didn't
this
collapse.
was the only horse to make up ground. So you kind of have a different race flow playing out than what the pace said it should. The runner-up did come back to win. I think he won his next start by 5 lengths. I believe it was another race with no speed figure assigned, so hard to assess how fast it was. Interesting that when this horse ran in the Windsor Castle, used a completely different running style, was vying for the lead and just got tired at the end. So
He didn't run terribly in that race,
no,
actually.
considering the way that it played out, it wasn't a bad effort. I did prefer the other Weaver runner, but I won't be surprised when this one's effective.
Yeah, Bob Rofsky, you have second here. He's got a lot of speed. I got him wrong, badly wrong last time out. The one thing I think he has going for him is that Daredevil has been an extremely effective turf sprint sire.
Yeah, there's turf pedigree all over this horse. Daredevil 16% in turf sprints when you look it up in DRF Formulator. And when you go to the second generation, the Dam is a half-sister to Significant Form, as well as Hey Dakota, who is a multiple turf winner. So there is just turf all over this pedigree. You do wonder about starting this horse on the dirt, and Dale Roman's stats going from dirt to turf, or especially first-time turf, are abysmally bad. So at a shortish price, I couldn't quite pull the trigger on this horse, but he is very fast, and I think he is the main problem for the horse that you picked on top.
I agree. Monster's going to, in all likelihood, have to deal with him, but my problem is that he's going to take money because he won by 10 lengths. It wasn't that good a race.
It was a bad field.
That's my problem with it. And he's going to really have to be a better horse on turf to get done. Now, maybe he is. He certainly has the pedigree, an interesting horse in the Skidmore. I went to Skidmore for 1 semester. When I was in high school, I don't know if the school still does it, if you had finished all your requirements as a senior, you could take your second semester at Skidmore.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay, so got a head start on college.
I did, yes. And I thought that college would be easy after that, and then I went to Lehigh, and got all D's. But I did see a lot of Grateful Dead shows, so there is that. The Alabama, presented by Keeneland Sales, I think it's a fascinating race, and there's a lot of things going on. You and I have a slight disagreement about the race that we'll talk about, but we'll start with Lucara, who, I think any of these three horses, the main horses that win, are going to solidify a position as the leader division, none more so than Lucara. I just cannot take a horse that took advantage of a track that was extremely kind of speed after all the rain last time. And I know she's loose, but if I'm right about Good Cheer, I don't think Good Cheer is going to be far from her. And I just want to see her get 1.25 miles, and I don't believe if the Good Cheer shows up, she's necessarily better. I think she's dressed up by circumstance. And of the three main players, she's the one I like the least.
In retrospect, I'm not sure that track was as speed favoring as we thought it was at the time. I mean, you think about a race like the Ogden Phipps that was run right before it, and we thought Raging Sea had a big excuse for being against a speed track. She came back and was worse in her next start.
She's just not very good, though, anymore,
She might not be, but she has
know.
really dropped off. And Scottish Lassie was forward. She came back and ran even better next time.
Right, but Scottish Lassie was rounding into form, and I also felt like she was more forward than she maybe wanted to be because of the way the race was run. And let's be honest here, look forward. I don't know if she would have won the test,
She got
but
a
she
bad
would get maybe the worst ride of the meet.
All that aside, Lucara still has questions to answer because she's got to get the 10 furlongs, and doing it when you're loose on the lead is the best way to try to stretch out in distance. On the other hand, this was not the race that she was originally supposed to run in. She was supposed to run in the Coaching Club American Oaks. Unfortunately, Mark Cassie's barn got caught up in that quarantine situation, so they had
nothing to do with her, and frankly, as it turned out, had nothing to do with anything.
So they had to reroute to this race. Originally, it was supposed to be Lucara in the CCA and Nitrogen in the Alabama. And I imagine if Lucara had won the Coaching Club, she would have gone to the Cotillion because that's a better race for her. Now they're running here, so Mark Cassie can get her back in a pattern and not miss 3 months of time. So I worry a little bit about her producing her best effort in this spot, but I still think she's dangerous because of her pace advantage.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't think she can't win. I just think of the big three, she's the one I prefer the least. I'm going to go to Good Cheer in this race, and we'll show her win in the Kentucky Oaks. Now, to be fair, after she loses, I'm going to say, you've never liked this horse, and you allowed yourself to get sucked in, but I like her more than the other two, and we'll talk about Nitrogen in about a minute or so. Obviously, she didn't show up last time. Something went wrong, and it's the kind of effort I wouldn't have been surprised if she got put on the shelf and we didn't see her again. And the fact that Brad was always pointing to this race, he's going to run Immersive in the CCA Oaks, run her here. I just feel like she's the one that's most reliable, and she's not slow. She doesn't have to get compromised by Lucara's pace advantage in here, and I think that Louis Sai is going to have her close in this race, and I'm just kind of hoping she's the best horse in the race.
I found it interesting that in a quote I read from Brad Cox, he kind of downplayed the wet track excuse from last time, and trainers are always looking for excuses, and he was a little mystified by the performance. But I mean, in fairness, she's run really well on wet tracks in the past, so it wouldn't make a whole lot of sense to use that as the excuse. Maybe the track profile was against her, but she just never looked like herself. She was really bad.
I would say of all the trainers, Brad does the least trainer speak of anybody. I think Brad is a guy who almost looks at it sometimes as a handicapper, and I think his comments are reflective of that. He's not afraid to say, I don't want to make that excuse.
No,
she sucked, and, I don't know. I don't totally trust her, but I just think I'm going to have to rely on her because I don't want to bet the other two.
With Good Cheer, I just don't. I know she was 7 for 7 going into that last race. When you look at the horses that she beat all through her career, where have they gone? Who has she really beaten to prove that she is on top of this division? Even the Kentucky Oaks, when Lucara didn't show up or got caught up in the pace, who was really in that race that's run so much better since then?
It's fair. The other thing you could say about it, though, is she made the big move to break the race open.
She ran well within the context.
She kind of won a little bit like Wayne's horse did a few years ago, right? She made that breakout. Who beat Nest? Good horse.
Gosh.
I mean, she beat Nest in there, and I thought it was a more decisive win than the actual margin looked. In some ways, like the win by Torpedo Ann. I'm not comparing her with Torpedo Ann. I was in a different league last year, but her win where she just sort of destroyed broke the heart of every speed horse. I think the Nitrogen's a very interesting conversation here. You've got her on top. I've got her second. We're going to show the wonder again. I think if this race is won by 5 lengths, she's 3 to 5 to be the winner, but I want to bet against her.
That's the way that I feel, and she's not a horse that I'm going to be running to the windows to bet at 2-1, 9-5, whatever she is. I don't think she's going to be some big price in this race, but of the three flawed options, she's the one that I feel has the most upside, and as you were saying, if she runs her race, I think she's the best horse in this race.
I agree.
We'll see if she can do it on a dry harrow track, because as we know, sometimes these sloppy seal tracks don't always translate, especially for turf horses, and especially off the turf races that are not really competitive. When a horse is out there all by themselves, sometimes they're able to run a race that they're unable to when they're in a more competitive spot. What I will say along those lines, though, is doesn't Mark Casse have a chance to just control every step of this race on the front end? Because Lucara has the speed, and maybe Good Cheer's a little forward, but Nitrogen's got plenty of tactical speed. And isn't she supposed to let Lucara clear, perch herself right outside, not take any kickback, and Mark Casse can just kind of control the race on the front end and see if Nitrogen's good enough to handle the surface?
But I don't think the Good Cheer is going to be compromised. By the way, it was Secret Oath. Thank you to the 87 people that texted me to let me know that. That's fair, but I don't see how Good Cheer is compromised in that circumstance.
I guess what I'm saying is I don't see Good Cheer going after Lucara early, and I know
No, I don't
Nitrogen's
think going
not.
after her.
So I think that Nitrogen's going to be in a good spot, probably positioned outside of Good Cheer. And the other thing with her and the pedigree, Mark Casse was saying that actually when he worked her on the dirt over the winter, he was thinking about trying the Kentucky Oaks Trail, and then she started winning on the turf, and he kept her on that surface. And you think that's just a trainer quote, but then you look at Nitrogen's pedigree. The Dam's a half the Tog Voof to me, who is a very good dirt horse. You go to the second generation, it's the second Dam's a full sister to Winning Point, who is that really good multiple graded stakes winner routing on the dirt. So there's way more dirt pedigree here than there is turf pedigree.
There is, except the foals have been better on turf than the other foal was better on turf.
Yeah.
Here's my problem, and you kind of hinted at it talking about the race. We spend our lives throwing out horses that are turf horses that win off the turf races on wet tracks, running big figures when they get into dirt races because they're overbet based on them, and for the most part, we're successful in doing it. It doesn't mean there aren't aberrations, and certainly Nitrogen, who's a tremendous filly, and she might be a better horse than a lot of the ones we're talking about, but in general, these horses get into real dirt races on fast tracks, and they're just not competitive, and that's what I worry. And I really like, there's a part of me that kind of wants her to win, because I think she's a really neat horse, and if she's able to duplicate her turf races and win this race, I think she's the best horse of this division, which is a fun division, but it's still looking for a leader, and she could be the leader, depending on if Scottish Blassie ever shows up again. I'm incredibly disappointed that she didn't run in here, and I hope she's doing well, and I wish TT the best with her in the cotillion, but she should have been in this race.
Yeah, she only had one workout. He didn't love the way she came out of it, so we'll see.
I wonder if there's a situation there like that. And I got to tell you, after interviewing the trainer of Niles Peterson of Queen Azteca, who's probably overmatched, though she'll have no problem in the distance, I'm rooting for her. Yeah. He was great. He came on the show yesterday.
She'll run all day.
I mean, how could you not want a winner of this, the second place finisher in the Swedish Derby to do well in the Alabama? Race number 11. I am not going to get clever in this race. You are, I'm not. I thought Assertiveness ran extremely well last time with a wide trip against a gold rail on the turf, with the rails coming down, and ran well. The only problem I have, and it's probably why you pick against him, is why is Todd dumping this horse for $35,000 so quickly off that race?
I mean, it is a little strange. He is part owned by Rapoli, and he's an owner that does tend to win races up here.
But still,
and
35.
As I'm sure you know, Todd's drop downs, first time for a tag with these non-maidens, are not nearly as good on turf as they are on the dirt.
Close.
He's 3 for 21 over the past 5 years.
ROI.
Exactly. So that bothers me a little bit. I agree. This horse is almost too good to be in this race, and it worries me a bit.
I don't disagree. I think that's a perfectly valid sentiment.
One more thing about this horse. A mile and a 16th. This horse has trouble finishing his mile races a little longer. It bothers me a bit.
Okay, that's perfectly fair. Talk about Landman Friday for Danny Gargan. He's got a little bit of a look. I just don't know if he's any good.
He's got to prove he's good enough, but there is speed in this race. Assertiveness is not slow. Her one and only is supposed to go as a huge price in this race.
Kid Crease is supposed to go.
Kid Crease is supposed to go. Even Mogo has some speed. So I could see this pace heating up. And Landman Friday, when you go back and watch his maiden win 2 back at Gulfstream Park, It's one of those races you almost can't believe he won. I wonder if Rajiv Mirage was kind of sweating it out, trying to come through the narrowest of openings along the inside, but this horse just kind of took him there before he could even commit to it. So he has a strong finisher. He was entered in some tough spots in between that maiden win and the allowance race last time. They ended up running at Delaware. That turf course at Delaware can be quirky. I never want to be too hard on horses.
So that Mott horse that ran down there come back with a huge
exactly.
performance.
And the runner-up from that race came back and got in off the AE list up here and almost won that Stars and Strides race. He was right there at the end. So that might be a better race than it appears. And I don't mind the slight drop in class for this horse because his speed figure suggests this is the level he belongs at.
I don't think that's unfair. And it's fine to take a shot. I mean, this is a stranger. And, you know, I wanted to show the race that the 10 ran, Kid Creasa, because I'll say that Kid Creasa actually ran pretty well last time, and I don't want to ignore the rider switch to Ricardo Santana here, who's having such a great meet. Dakota Country was in there. I think Kid Creasa is the one you want out of this race. I just worry, like you do, the pace could get a little too hot.
I'm worried about that. And also, it is a big rider switch. I don't know how much Katie could have done different on this horse
agree.
because
That's
she
fair.
put him where he's supposed to be on the front end. I guess last time they could have slowed down the pace
He's
a
just a
little bit,
strong
going 9
rider.
furlongs because he set some pretty honest paces the last couple times. I just don't know how much slower he's going to be able to go here because he's probably going to have to work to make the lead from the outside, especially with the rails set at 27 feet. It can sometimes be tough from those outside posts to get over because just the way the turf course is configured, the outside posts on the rail when the rails are out, they can sometimes be a slight disadvantage.
The 5-horse Mo Go, who you have second and I have fourth, off the claim for Linda. Linda's numbers, off the claim in turf routes, 1 for 30 over the last 5 years. That kind of scared me a little.
It's kind of interesting. This horse was bred by DJ Stable, sold as a yearling for $400,000, and now claimed back by, is that the same John?
That's John Green,
Jonathan
yeah.
Green, right?
Well, you got $360,000 in the horse.
Yeah. So
good deal.
taking another shot with a horse that they bred. This one's going to Linda. Linda does not have good stats first off the claim on the turf, but you go back to this horse's win on the turf as a maiden. The third place finisher in that race, Swift Delivery, has since proven to be a very good stakes horse for Mark Cassie. So that was a
second
legitimate
horse is
race.
bad, but
yeah, but this horse might have some upside on the turf.
If Linda had better numbers with turf claims on routes, not 1 for 30, I would have been far more interested in this horse. I think he's very, very interesting. Race number 12. We'll take a look at Pay the Juice in his debut, going 5.5 furlongs. And I'm going to take the approach that he's been kind of a sprinter all along. I know there was pace in this race, but you're talking about Leon Blue was in there. The horse who won the race came back and won the Skidmore in the next start. And I just wonder if, though he's improved a bit, if maybe he should have been sprinting all along.
I think that's fair. I still wonder if he's a horse that just hasn't really gone on from 2 to 3. I think I recall Maggie Acacia in the paddock saying for one of his races that he just didn't grow, and you kind of see that in his performances because he's gotten some pretty good trips in those longer races. It just hasn't really finished them off. So I wonder how good he is, but I don't disagree that turning back is the right move at this point in his career.
I just think it's the right move. Not for hire. I was going to pick on top. I'm just not sure, but he certainly did not get the best of trips last time.
I think when you start to pick his races apart, the form looks a little bit better because he was chasing an extremely fast pace back in April behind Friend of the Devil, who just ran that field
Then he
into
ran
the ground.
against Warolo.
And he didn't even run that badly against
No.
Warolo, who's a really good horse. And then last time out, completely blew the start, was out of position every step of the way, actually was running on decently at the end for a horse that was using a new running style. And here he's supposed to get a good trip, saving ground inside. I just think he's way the horse to beat in this race, and I don't think he's a favorite that's going to be that short.
Yeah, no, I went back and forth between the 2 and 10. I mean, I put my picks on a while. I didn't see him, and I was kind of glad I picked the 10 because I needed the same horse as you in here. But I don't disagree. I think he is the horse to beat in here. The 8, Sir Cartwright, has to be a little bit interesting because the foals have actually run pretty well on the turf. And I thought that horse was a little interesting to throw in. A horse that ran okay last year. His form has been dismal this year, but I thought the surface change could be interesting for him.
It is interesting, and you might also note that this horse's best dirt race was on a sealed racetrack, which sometimes can be an inclination, predictor of turf form.
Yep.
And this horse, when you watch him run, has kind of that higher knee action that might make you think that turf could work out for him. And according to the Clocker report, IRAD was up for that turf workout, so that's never a bad
And he's
sign.
an IRAD horse that's not going to be a short price. There's There's just too many other horses to bet here.
The other horse I was interested in is the number 5, Courtly Banker.
bet her
I
last
just kind of
time.
feel like last time was the time to get a price on him, and he wasn't quite good enough.
But
And
he ran pretty well.
he did run well, and I think he's a turf sprinter.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. I agree. He's certainly not impossible. I just went in slightly different directions with her. I didn't want to completely ignore Buston away because his turf race last year actually wasn't that bad.
No.
I mean, he finished just behind Courtly Banker, who I thought actually had a better trip than he did. I needed him to get up for second in that race, and I don't love him, but maybe he was a better horse last year. But his turf sprint wasn't that bad for a horse.
That was
to
my
be in
feeling.
price.
I didn't like any of his races this year.
I agree. I thought his form has kind of declined this year, and I'm wondering if he's just not nearly as good a horse coming off a better effort when he ran the turf. David, thank you. It was a pleasure having you here, as it always is. Head over to Naira Bets. Use the promo code SPA200. We'll match you with $200 of your initial deposit. What do we have? This is it. I know. We have not given out any pre-Jacques Morois opinions. You're on your own on this, but you can watch it tomorrow morning. Special wager, the Alabama, the pre-Morois. It's backed by popular demand. We have Travers Bankroll Builder, 50 to win in the Alabama, win, lose, or draw, $20 towards the Travers. Obviously the last one of these, with the Travers coming up next Saturday. We'll draw that tomorrow. We have 10,000 hit and split on the late pick 5 here. Opt in over at Naira Bets for that. I'm going to do that right now. What else do we have? I don't have to opt in for that. The cross-country pick 5, Monmouth, Woodbine, Saratoga. Take a look at that if you're interested. That'll kick off at 2:51 today. We have the Taste of New York. Head over to that near Gate A. Check out all this good stuff made in New York. And for those that weren't listening and asked me to promote this, I'll spend less time than the 2 minutes I did when you weren't listening. Les Garden Day today, of course, it really is a really great opportunity to give to a good cause. Les Garden Foundation is for pancreatic cancer research. Trainers will be signing autographs until 12:30, maybe even stick around a little bit longer. Throw a few dollars to a very, very good cause and meet some of your favorite trainers, or learn to meet some new friends like Pat Quick, who's a wonderful man. And this, of course, is very much in memory of Dominic Galuccio, who left us way too soon. He was a very colorful character, but also an excellent, excellent trainer. I first met Dominic in the mid-'70s when he was working for Mike Hernandez, actually. The late Marty Katz, Marty the Clocker, actually introduced me to him a long, long time ago. And finally, we are on, well, it's not finally, 12:30 to 4 on FS2, 4 to 6 on Fox, 6 to 7 to round out on FS1, and tomorrow, 9:30 to 10 on FS2, catch the pre-Jacques Morois, one of the premier mile turf races. They'll be running at Deauville tomorrow, 9:30 to 10 a.m., the second half of that double. David, thank you so much.
Yep, this was fun.
Great to see you. It was very much fun. Frank Miramati is going to have fun today with 12 races. He's up next with a reprise that scratches and changes. Have a great Alabama Day.
You bet with Naira Bets. Bet any track, anywhere, anytime. Download the Naira Bets app to play today and get a $200 deposit bonus. Watch live horse racing. Get expert picks. Boost your bankroll with weekly promotions and hone your handicapping skills with exclusive tips and tutorials. Download the Naira Bets app now. Sign up now to claim your $200 deposit match bonus. You bet with Naira Bets.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we ask that you please rise, remove your caps, as we draw your attention to the flagpole in the infield, we ask you to please rise and remove your caps for the singing of our national anthem. Once again, we welcome Savannah Gordon.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Savannah Gordon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Saratoga Racecourse. It's Alabama Day. The Alabama presented by Keeneland Sales, the marquee race on today's 12-race program. The track is fast. The turf course is firm. Quick reminder as we get to the changes about some offerings that we have. You may enjoy complimentary samples today of Suburban Life ready-to-drink cocktails. Suburban Life offering samples of its new bourbon canned cocktails just outside the entrance to the Finish Line Bar and Grill, and Suburban Beverage Express. Fans 21 and older can try the new Suburban Life bourbon and pink lemonade, bourbon iced tea and lemonade, and bourbon margarita cocktails available now through 4 p.m. while supplies last. We thank Suburban Life, the sponsor of the Grade 2 Suburban, for its support of Saratoga. And we're also pleased to help you celebrate National Rum Day. Yes, it's National Rum Day with our official rum partner of Saratoga Racecourse, Mount Gay Rum. Complimentary samples of Mount Gay rum-based cocktails are available now through 4 p.m. at the Mount Gay Rum Shack for fans 21 and older. The Mount Gay Rum Shack is located just outside the porch and across from the Travers Bar. Head over there. Enjoy free drink samples for fans 21 and older in celebration of National Rum Day across America and here at Saratoga Racecourse. And you just saw the graphic for Taste New York. You can head over to the top of the stretch inside Gate A for a wide variety of complimentary samplings of